Hey everyone, the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Order Battletome IDONETH Deepkin, the latest in the AOS 4 Battletomes from Games Workshop and for Warhammer, The Age of Sigmar. Now this was kindly sent as a complimentary review copy and brings these guys into the realm of basically up to date for this edition of the game and introduces some cool new stuff like the Abyssal Tendril and the Incarnate of the Deep. We got a new character as well, and the Mathala, the Oracle of the Abyss, Icon of the Storm, Icon of the Sea, and a full color, basically like background and like showcase, as we always get with these boxes. This was one of my first AOS 2 armies, actually. These guys launched the bridge basically in between the original first edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar and second edition Age of Sigmar, and I played a ton of games with them. One of my favorite armies and one of my favorite miniatures, I think, is still the Eidolon, which I painted way back when these first launched, and yeah, it's just a beautiful miniature. We get our fold out with the whirlways, so a basic overview of what's been going on underwater. These poor Shadow Elves that came out of Slaanesh looking a little weird, and yeah, and not doing so good. I love this Abyssal Tendril, this Incarnate right here. It's basically the Ether Sea come to life, and it looks cool as hell. Like it's like a, I don't know, it's like a great old one beast made out of water and chunks of like shipwreck and stuff. Extremely cool. And yeah, so we get our background here on these elves. Why they're all shadowy, why some of them are still missing their souls, which is the thralls. They came out of Slaanesh during the rescue looking a little bit weird. And the different caste systems of the Ishran inside of the Idoneth, why some of them are a little bit more intact than others, not ruling class taking control. So you can see these are our thralls. The Ishran, of course, they've got the not totally pale skin, and they have eyes as opposed to being blind, like these sort of like fishmen are in some of our new miniatures. This cool Icon of the Sea. And the Achillean Thrallmaster, which came out actually in a 2-player battle box a couple years ago. Other than that, kits are pretty much the same as before. We got our Achillean King, which also builds Volteris. Our Ishlean Guard, which are still the most infuriating miniatures to put on a flying stand I've ever built. And I would recommend just drilling them out and putting them on some brass rod. And then the Eidolons, which are quite possibly some of the nicest, most iconic AOS miniatures since the release of the game. Love these Sea Elves. All right, well, let's jump in here. We got Mathala, our new special character. Lotan, the Counting Man, and the Icon of the Sea, which is a little bit like a champion level fighter. We got the Storm, Icon of the Sea, which is the spear guy, and then the double swords guy is the Storm one. So 2 different poses for the same figure that allow it to fight in different ways. All right, let's get to some rules, because I know that's what you guys are actually here for, and we'll dive in. All right, faction rules, battle traits. So your battle trait for your army is as follows. We have the Tides of the Sea and the Tides of the Storm. So once per battle round, you can use a tidal ability from either the Tides of the Sea or the Tides of the Storm. If you do so, you unlock the next ability in the same column in the next battle round. You can switch columns at any time, though this resets your progress. So for instance, if you use the Concealing Tide ability in the first battle round, in the second you can either use Swift Tide or switch columns to Unpredictable Tide. So in every edition prior to this for the Idoneth, you basically had low tide, ebb tide, flood tide, and it was you start in cover, then you can run and charge, then everybody fights first, and then everybody can retreat and still charge or fight. And yeah, so like the idea that now you have 2 columns to go through is a refreshing thing. But if you want to get all 4 or all 3 advantages, you have to basically stick to one to the end. So Tides of the Sea, and these are in order. You have Concealing Tide. Declare, you can use this ability if you did not use the previous battle round, you did not use any other title abilities this battle round. Effect, it's your -1 hit roll for attacks that target friendly IDONETH Deepkin units that did not use any charge abilities in the same turn. That's once per battle round in any hero phase. Then Swift Tide, you can use this ability only if you used Concealing Tide previously. For the rest of the battle round, you can run and shoot or charge. And then once per battle round in your hero phase, Seize Embrace. If you used Swift Tide previously, you get Deep Strike. Strike first, sorry. So it's -1 to hit if you didn't charge, then run and charge and or shoot, and then finally fight first. So kind of the same as before. Tides of the Storm, though, you get Unpredictable Tide. Use this if you basically are going first. Not if you're going first, but if this is your first one you're going to do. Pick a friendly IDONETH Deepkin unit that's not in combat to be the target. Remove the target from the battlefield and set them up wholly within 7 inches of any battlefield edge and more than 9 from all enemy units. So it's a full redeploy, and you can always go back to it. Inexorable Tide is the next one. Subtract 1 from the Rend characteristic of weapons used by attacks that target friendly Deepkin units for the rest of the battle round. And then finally, Storm's Wrath, which is friendly IDONETH units have crit mortal for the rest of the turn. So it's pretty good, but you're gonna get to one of these once. And I'm trying to figure out if there's like a good way to reset to. Because like the redeploy on turn 1 is pretty cool, but it's also a much better like late game ability. And then reset to -1 to hit. I feel like that's the one you're going to start with, unless you're planning on going all the way to crit mortal, which against certain armies could be amazing if you don't want them to get their armor saves. And then you've got your different battle formations. So you can pick one, and it gives you a different ability. So either Namarti Core, you can reroll run and charge rolls for friendly Namarti if they're within 12 of a friendly Akellian unit. Akellian Beastmasters, add 1 of the hit rolls for companion units, weapons for friendly Akellian units, so all of your like sharks you're riding, and your eels. Ishrin Council, add 1 of the casting rolls, Ishrin Ritual rolls, and Lurelight rolls for friendly Ishrin units within combat range of other friendly Ishrin units, so basically if you've got 2 together. And then Soul Raid Ambushers, when using Unpredictable Tide, pick 2 instead of 1, so you can teleport 2 units. Pretty cool. It's all going to depend upon the units, which one you want to take. All right, 3 different heroic traits. Form of Fangmora. If the unmodified hit, so 1, 2, or 3, it just doesn't hit. A Hunter of Souls. Pick 1 of the following weapon abilities for the rest of the battle, either anti-cav, anti-infantry, or anti-monster +1 rend. Again, good against different armies. And then Nightmare Legacy. Subtract 3 from the control scores of enemy units within 6 of your hero. Artifacts. Armor of Sithé. If the unit has not charged this turn, your -1 hit rolls for combat attacks made by enemy units while they're in combat with this unit. So basically, if you're going last, you're -1 to hit. A Life Kelp Pod. Heal D3 for each friendly IDONETH Deepkin cavalry unit within your combat range. And Dritch Leech. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within 18 of this unit. In addition, if every time a spell fails, you heal 1. So basically, you get to suck up the magical power and heal yourself. So depending on what you're doing, right? If you have Cav nearby, that's a great one. If you're just planning on something that goes last, that's when it hits handy. Then you get your Manifestation for bringing on the Incarnate of the Deep there. It's a 2d6 roll and an 8 to summon him. And then our Spell Lures, Lore of the Deep, Steed of Tides. Pick a friendly IDONETH Deepkin wizard to cast a spell, and pick a friendly visible IDONETH Deepkin unit wholly within 12 and not in combat. Cast on a 6, remove the target from battlefield, and set them up again more than 9 from all enemy units. So just teleport somebody. Counter Current, it's on a 7. Pick a visible enemy unit with an 18 and roll 2d6 until the end of your next turn. Start of your next turn, have the run and charge rolls for this unit so you can like pressure someone and not make them able to chase you. And then Pressure of the Deep. On a 7, pick a friendly IDONETH Deepkin unit to cast the spell and a visible enemy with an 18 of them and make a 2d6 roll. Roll a die for each model in the unit for a 5+, inflict a mortal wound. So great for clearing out zombie, or like, yeah, big zombie units, skeleton units, goblins, stuff like that. And let's skip ahead and look at this Incarnate, because this thing seems cool and the model is awesome. So we've got either the Abyssal Tendrils and the Abyssal Incarnate of the Deep. He's 10-inch move, 12 health, 4+ save, 8 to banish him. He's got 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, rend 1, 3 damage, and he's anti-faction terrain, +1 rend. He's passive, Turn to the Sea. Whenever this manifestation is removed from play, each friendly Abyssal Tendril on the battlefield is automatically grouped 2, because the tendrils come with him. Wild Form. Effect. Each time this manifestation is targeted by the Banished Manifestation ability, if it would be banished, it's not banished. Instead, it takes 6 damage. But you can't make ward saves. And then Grasping Tendrils. In any hero phase, roll a die. Add 1 to the roll if it's your turn. On a 4+, remove a friendly Abyssal Tendril from the battlefield. If there's fewer than 2 on the battlefield, you can set up an Abyssal Tendril within 9 of the manifestation. And then he's Endless Spell, Incarnate, Fly, 6+ ward. And the Tendrils have a 6-up ward, they're 6 health, 6+ saves, and banish on a 6. They have Freezing Grasp, 4 attacks, 4+, 2+ to wound, and then rend 1 damage D3. This thing does a lot of damage. Once per turn army in enemy combat phase, pick an enemy unit in combat with the manifestation to be the target and roll a die. If it exceeds their health, they're ensnared and they can't use commands. So yeah, just no commands. Basically on a 2+ against anything with 1 health. And then Crushing Coil, add 1 to hit rolls for this manifestation's attacks that target and ensnared enemy units. You're hitting on 3s instead of on 4s, which is great. So yeah, this thing can put out an impressive amount of damage. It does potentially 18 with just its own Crushing Maw and Scything Waves. And the 2 Tendrils, if they're both out, it's 8 more attacks, each with a potential 12 damage. So like, the potential damage in this thing is really high, and then you can cripple things and keep them from being able to use commands as well. It's a cool summon. It's a free unit. You know what I mean? Armies that have manifestations are pretty great. Well, not a free unit. It's a unit you can keep summoning. And we don't have points in here, I forgot. We don't put points in these books anymore. I was gonna look to see how many points he was, but I can't because I don't have the points. Let's look at some characters. So first we got our Eidolons. Both of them, 12 wounds, 3+ saves, 5 control. The Eidolon Mathland, the Storm is of course the fighty one, the Sea is the casty one. 7 attacks, 3s and 2s, and he's charge +1 damage. He's gonna be damage 3 on the charge, Ren 2. Hits like a ton of bricks. Can retreat and charge in the same turn, pulled into the depths, strike last on a 3+ on an enemy hero. That says your Rampage. And then passive, Drenched with Hate, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly IDONETH Deepkin units that are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Doesn't heal anymore, but he doesn't take mortal damage from retreating. Both have 5+ wards, both fly. And then the aspect of the Sea, he's got +1 to his casting rolls, and then he's got Tsunami of Terror on a 7. Pick 3 different enemy visible units within 12 of the caster and roll 2d6. Subtract 1 from save rolls for their attacks that target them. And then Vengeful Waves, when he does any charge range, is his Rampage. So when he charges or is charged, if this unit has not charged this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with him to be the target. So basically, when you get charged on a 3+, the target, you can't use commands. And then Tranquility of the Abyss, ignore negative modifiers to the control scores of IDONETH within 12 of them. And he's Wizard 2, Fly, and Word Save 5+. Very cool unit still. Volteris. He's your High King. This unit has a 3+ ward against mortal damage from spells, prayers, and manifestations. 8 health, 3+ save, 2 control. Charge +1 damage on his sword. 6 attacks, 2s and 3s. Rend 1, damage 3 on the charge, 2 normally. And then his big old companion, 4 attacks, 4+, 3+, rend 1 and 2 damage. He is +1 to combat attack hit rolls for killing units that are wholly within 12 of him. And then Supreme Lord of Tides, pick 3 friendly IDONETH Deepkin units wholly within 12 to be the target, and add 1 of the attack characteristics of the weapons for the rest of the turn, and once per battle. King is a light version of him. He's got a 2+ mortal damage charge, and then add 1 of the Rend characteristic of Italian Royal Weapons for attacks that target enemy unit for the rest of the turn if he does it. So he's basically going to be +1 to his Rend. He'd be Rend 2, and damage 3 on the charge, 3+ and force to wound. Crest of the Wave. If this unit charges this turn, add 1 to its Rend for melee weapons for friendly Deepkin units that target the same unit. And then Lotan. I love this guy. Doesn't have a ward save anymore, though. Wizard 1. Empowered by Memory. Cast on 7. Target unit's melee weapons get crit auto wound for the rest of the turn. And once per turn as a reaction, you declare a spell ability for a friendly Ishran unit wholly within 12 of this unit. Remove 1 from the soul quota tokens, then you can reroll the casting roll. And every time an enemy unit's destroyed, he gets a soul quota token. So you can reroll your casting rolls by spending them because he keeps a tally. He lets other people do that. Mathala, the Oracle of the Abyss. She is a wizard, flies, 6+ wards. She's got 6 wounds, 5+ health, 10-inch move. Her shooting is 18-inch range, 3s and 2s, 4+, Rend 1, damage D3, and she can shoot into combat with her like little spray. And then she fights okay. She's a wizard, right? 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, Rend 1 and damage D3. And her companion's got a couple extra attacks. Crushing Pressure. It's basically the same crushing thing, but roll a number equal to the target's health characteristic to a maximum of 10. For every 4+, inflict immortal damage. So this is a monster crusher on a 7. And then Siren Song of the Abyss, pick 3 friendly IDONETH units wholly within 12 of the target. For the rest of the turn, you're +1 to your companion attack. So she's like a Beastmaster. And then our 2 icons, Storm and Sea. Either the Maelstrom Blades with 7 attacks, 3s and 4s, Rend 1, damage 2. Or a Tidal Glaive with +1 damage on the charge, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, Rend 1, damage 2. I think I'd rather take the Sea for like we're just talking melee weapons. More consistent, higher damage. He can run and charge. And then Surging Sea, pick a friendly unit, pick this unit and one friendly unit in your combat range. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls to a maximum of 3. So fast and can run and charge. But then Whirlpool's Fury for the passive on this guy. Enemy units can't retreat while they're in combat with him. And friendly units that use a retreat action within 12 of this guy can still shoot and charge. Very cool, like boost ability. And then Storm of Blades, this unit can use 2 fight abilities, but the second one strike last. Soul Scryer, instead of setting up targets, basically when you're using Unpredictable Tide, you can be 12 from this unit and more than 7 from enemy units, anywhere in the battlefield, so you can call them in. The Soul Render, Hangman's Victory, pick an enemy hero in combat, roll 2d6. If it's higher than your health, you're just killed. He just kills you. This guy's crazy. This talent hick. Just kills heroes. That could be an incredible ability. If you have less than 6 health, you just die. God, that's a ridiculous ability. If he's in combat with someone, you can deliver him, roll 2d6, average roll 7, 6 or health less, they're dead. Automatically destroyed. That's a wild ability. Then Lure Light, pick 3 different Namarti units, wholly within 12 of this unit to be the ability. So you take the Soul Render, you put him with the Icon of the Sea, and then have him make a 3d6 charge at somebody. Once per turn. Yeah, just throw Soul Renders at people. Just go assassinate all their heroes by charging 3d6 into them. Yikes. And then Tidecaster can do rituals, Creeping Mist, which basically makes you immune to shooting attacks within 12 or outside 12. +1 to run charge rolls. Yeah, so you add that to your Soul Render there and just send them in to kill somebody. And then Spiteful Riptide, take D3 damage. The Thrallmaster, they can fight immediately after they've fought. So basically they get to like double team with the Thrall unit. And then melee weapons used by friendly Namarti units have crit 2 while they're within range of this guy. So your Namarti Thralls get +1 rend against monsters and infantry, but no more +1 damage against monsters. Damn it, that sucks. But crit 2 hits is kind of cool. And then your Whisper Bows, 12-inch range, 3s and 4s, run 1, damage 1. And these guys can run and retreat in the same turn and still shoot. And then Sweeping Blows, if any damage points are inflicted by attacks made as a part of the fight ability that are allocated to enemy units, subtract 1 from the wound rolls for attacks made by those units to the rest of the turn. So you might want to wound these guys if they've wounded you first. Still love the Alopex. What a great unit. This guy is a big gun, anti-monster +1 rend or anti-cavalry +1 rend. 3 damage with 2 shots. Very accurate, 3s and 2s. And then Barbed Hooks and Blades in melee, and he's got his +1 rend against monsters and companion for the Alopex's Big Bite. And +1 to its melee's Ferocious Bite if anybody's wounded. And you can ensnare dudes. On a 3+, and starting next turn, subtract 1 from the number of dice made for charge rolls to a minimum of 1. Our big old Leviathan, 5+ ward, 3+ save. I love he's got a ward save now. 16 health, control 5. You drop your attacks down to 5 if you take enough damage, 10 or more damage. Crushing Charge, 3+, do some mortal damage when you rampage. And then friendly IDONETH Deepkin units have a ward save of 5+ while they're wholly within 6 of this unit, and that includes in melee from the Void Drum. Harpoon Launcher, same as on the Alopex. Melee damage is still huge. Crit Mortal Companion. 7 attacks at Crit Mortal now is huge. And then your basic dudes get to stab still too. We've still got our Biovoltaic Blast on the Achillean Morsar Guard. 4 wounds, 3+ to do mortal damage. -1 from the attack characteristic on a 3+ for the Biovoltaic Barrier. And the Gallop Shields give you a 5+ ward if you charge, but no ward base. Gloomtide Shipwreck, Rise from the Depths. It's faction terrain. It's in 2 pieces. It's got 7 health and a 4+ save. If it's in 1 piece, it has 14 health. +1 to saves if you're within 6 of it, if you're IDONETH Deepkin Infantry or Cavalry, and then Phantasmal Ruin. Each time an enemy unit makes a move that passes through on the strain feature, roll a d3. On a 2+, do mortal damage to that unit equal to the roll. And we already went through the Incarnate. We got some spearheads. We have a new spearhead here, but we're gonna do that as a separate review because I do love me some spearheads. We'll do a spear tips on these guys. The Achillean Tide Guard, which is a brand new box set coming up for this army, which I am pumped about. And then that's it, Path to Glory stuff. The Anvil Apotheosis, if you haven't played through the new Path to Glory stuff, it is fantastic. You can create your own character, 150, 250, or 350 points, and give them all kinds of companions. Like flaws too, like the Legacy of Slaanesh, because you came out of Slaanesh at some point, and then your upgrades for your mounts, and of course you've got your different paths you can take for your heroes if you're Ishran, or if you're a... And then some armies of Renown. The first phalanx of the Ion Rack. This is the roster options, Volteris, any Achillean unit, and you can't use any regiments for Renown. So you have to have Volteris, and then you can use the Achillean heroes. And the Achillean units are all basically the eels, the mounted knights, the Alopex, and the Leviathan, and then the associated heroes that go with it. Last Living Sithai. Volteris has strike first. Once per turn, you can gain D3 Azadazor points, and everybody gets the first phalanx keyword in this army. Your movement phase, the Shield of Ulchus, spend a friendly Azador point. Each time a friendly first phalanx unit from your army uses this ability. Pick a friendly unit in combat. That unit can use a retreat ability and still shoot or charge, and no mortal damage is taken. So you basically, once per turn in your hero phase, you get D3 of these, and you can boost these abilities. Spear of Aspharin. And you pick a friendly unit that's not in combat, add one of your charge rolls, or the unit gets strike first in your combat phase. Your heroic trait, no Azure points can be spent to use this ability. So once per battle, you declare an Azure ability on a first phalanx unit wholly within 12 of this unit. So basically your hero allows you to do this and not spend any points. Your artifact of power gives you a 6+ ward. And then your Bond Beast traits. This Bond Beast trait is a unique enhancement for first phalanx cavalry units. A unit can only have one. Either Void Chill Darkness, subtract 1 from hit rolls for targets that attack this unit if they charge this turn, and Deep Connection, ignore the effect of companion weapon abilities in this unit's weapon. So like you can boost its abilities without having to be a companion. So like you're not restricted basically on those attacks. And then Swift Fin Skirmisher, if you're a 1 to 3 when determining the distance this unit can move, it uses a value of 4 instead when you redeploy. So always go 4 when you make your fallback move. So a neat little like eel-based army. And then the Wardens of Carillium. You have to have an Eidolon, either aspect, and no more than one can be included. Any Ishran units, any Namarti units, and any Achillean infantry unit. So the heroes mostly. You can't use regiments of Renown. You get the Carillium keyword. So your battle traits are once per battle in the deployment phase. This ability must be used to deploy the friendly Carillium Eidolon. Set up the friendly Carillium Eidolon in reserve awaiting summons. It has now been deployed. So basically he sits in reserve. And then passive, the Spirits of Carillium. Each turn you gain 1 Carillium spirit point. You gain 1 the first time any of the following occurs in a turn. You make an unmodified casting roll of 8+. An enemy unit destroyed a unit while it's within 12 of any friendly Ishran units. A friendly unit is destroyed while it's wholly within 12 of any friendly Ishran units or while it is contesting an objective you control. And then once per battle in your combat phase, call forth the Tsunami. Declare, you can only use this ability if you have 3 or more Carillium points. Pick a friendly unit and await summons to be the target. So basically your Eidolon shows up. Set up the target anywhere in the battlefield, then inflict D3 mortal damage on each enemy unit in combat with it. So you just summon the guy in the middle of a combat. And then Wrath of Mathlan. Once per turn, army in any combat phase, pick a friendly Carillium Eidolon that's not used any rampage abilities. This unit can use 2 fight abilities, but must strike last in the second one, and can't use any other rampages. So you bring in the aspect of the sea, and you just like explode into the middle of an army, and then you get to fight twice. Heroic trait, serve the Enclave. While this unit and a friendly Carillium Namarti unit is contesting the same objective, this has a control score of 10 that can't be modified. And then Ammonite Carnix. Pick a friendly Carillium Namarti unit that's been destroyed to be the target. Set up a replacement unit and half the number of models within the target unit, rounding up within 12 of this unit more than 9 from the enemy. So you can bring back one of your units of thralls. And then your spell lore, if you're not taking the aspect of the sea, you're going to put this on your basic Ishran units. Pick a friendly Carillium wizard to cast this spell, and pick a friendly Carillium unit wholly within 12 to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. If the target's Namarti, you can return d6 slain models to it, otherwise heal d3. And then your hero phase, Slipstream. The wizard deftly manipulates the surging currents. Declare, pick a friendly Corellium wizard to cast this spell, and pick a friendly Corellium unit that's not in combat and wholly within 12 to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Each model in the target unit can move up to d6 inches. They cannot pass through and within combat range of enemy units. You get a d6 push on a unit, basically on a 6. And then finally, you can manifest, you can summon the Incarnate of the Deep. And that's it. So now we've got a Namarti one too. So one for the Akhelians and one for the Ishran and Namarti to make an army out of. And we got some regiments. We got a Bloodthirsty Shiver. Can be taken by Cities, Daughters, Fireslayers, Caradon Overlords, Lumineth, Seraphon, and Stormcast Eternals and Sylvaneth. It's just 2 Alapexes. And the Hunt of the Bloodthirsty Shiver. If both units in the regiment round are within each other's combat range, pick one of the following things to apply. While both units are within each other's combat range, subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks that target them, or their ferocious bites get crit 2 hits. And then a Namarti Shore Raid, and this one's a Thrallmaster, Reavers with 10 models, and Thralls with 10 models. Same units can hire them. They get in the deployment phase, set the units up in the Ether Sea. They've now been deployed. And then finally in your movement phase, launch attack. Set up each unit in the battlefield wholly within 7 of the battlefield edge, more than 9 from all enemy units, and within combat range of each other in this Regiment of Renown. Then each unit can immediately move D3, but can't move into combat during any part of that move. They just show up and bamf. And that's our rules reference, and that's it. So I'm curious if the, I think it's the, no, not quite. The Akhelian Tide Guard don't make up. I was hoping they did. They don't quite make up that Shore Raid, but come close. So there it is, IDONETH Deepkin, a new Battletome, big new manifestation, which I think is super cool. A couple new cool formations for them to take. I quite like the Akhelian one because their cavalry's pretty dope, but they can't take the manifestation. And then the Namarti one's interesting too, but I think the core list is pretty great. You get all the options, all the hits, and depending upon the point values of these guys, I think they are going to be a neat and fun army to play. Lots of movement. Lots of neat tricks. And I do like the choose your own adventure of 2 different paths for the Ether Sea to flow in as opposed to just the one that we've built around forever. You can still play the old one. So yeah, they haven't really, I mean, things have changed. Obviously point values will have changed, but you can still play the army the old way, right? With like low tide, flood tide, high tide. But they just have some different options for what we want to do too. And being able to summon and bamf around 2 different units across the table can be super handy. Thrall's still super glassy. These guys hit like a ton of bricks, but can't take a punch, except for their cavalry. And yeah, the more things change, the more things stay the same. So there you go. We'll see you for the second one of these as we look through the Spearhead to Mash.